Let's practice working with our ratios, specifically on different part-to-part, part-to-whole, or whole-to-part ratios. For number 1, we have 8 blue balloons, 6 purple balloons, and 12 yellow balloons. Right away, it's a good idea just to find out the total number of balloons because we may find that useful at some point. So if we add 8 plus 12, that's going to be 20. 20 plus 6, that's going to be 26 total balloons. So let's go ahead and put that in our table just in case we need it later. Now for part A, we're being told that we have 24 balloons. And we're being asked how many purple balloons there would be. So as usual, let's start by labeling our ratios. So let's put blue on top here, and I'll put purple on bottom so we know which is which. Now for blue, it looks like our original ratio, we were told that there were 8 balloons from our table, and also that there would be 6 of these purple balloons, right? But here we're being told that there's gonna be 24 of these blue balloons. So let's put 24 on top, and we got to figure out how many purple there would be. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure out what that would be. So if we put 24 in our table, we could put 24 right up here, and you can see that hopefully that this is going to be 3 times bigger, right? So for purple, we would say this is times 3 as well. So this would be 18, and that's how many would be in this case. So we can go ahead and say this would be 18. So for how many purple balloons would there be? There would be 18. That would be our answer. For part B, it says, what if there are going to be 6 of these yellow balloons? And if there are 6 of these yellow balloons, the question is how many of them are going to be blue? So if we were going to go ahead and set up a ratio, we could put yellow on top here, and then we could put blue on bottom. This would be kind of like how we would label our units. And so we can use the table up top, or we can also go ahead and just write it down here, up to you. So we know we have 12 original yellows for every 8 original blues, but they're saying what if there's going to be 6 of these yellow ones? So 6 is going to be half as much. So if you want to just divide by 2 here, we can say, actually I forgot to write it over here, but I'll write times 3 and then times 3 for part A. Over here though, we can say it's going to be divided by 2, and then if we divide 8 in half and divide it by 2, that would mean that there would be 4 of these blue balloons here. Okay, so again, if you wanted to go ahead and write in our table, they're saying what if there's 6? So how does 12 become 6? Well, it's divided by 2. So how does blue become here? It would be divided by 2 as well. So that's where that 4 would come from. So if there were 6 yellow balloons, there should be 4 blue balloons. For part C, it says if there are 54 of these purple balloons, then how many total balloons would there be? So I'm going to go ahead and put 54 in our table right over here. So if it's going to be 54 balloons that are purple, how does 6 become 54? Well, it's going to be times 9. So if we know that there are 26 of them over here, we could multiply that by 9. Okay, so if we want to do 26 times 9, take that 26 multiplied by 9. Again, if you can do that calculation in your head, then great. If not, you should go ahead and write it down. That's 54. 18 plus 5 is going to be 23. So there should be 234 total balloons here if there were 54 of these purple ones. So if you were setting up a ratio here, we could say purple would be on top and then total would be on bottom. And then for the original problem, we knew it was going to be 6 to 26. That was the original ratio of purple to total, 6 to 26. So then the question was, what if we had 54 of these purple ones? So 54, you can see here, that would be 9 times more of the purple balloons. So if we had 9 times more of those, we should have 9 times more of the total balloons, which we found out to be 234. So if there were 54 purple balloons, there should be 234 total balloons. In part D, we're told that there's going to be 390 total balloons. So let's go ahead and take that 390 and put it over here as the total. And the question is how many of them are going to be yellow? Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and set up a ratio here. So let's go from total to yellow. Total here is going to be 390. But what was the original ratio? Well, if we go from, let's see, 390 total, let's go from total to yellow. So it's 26 to 12. So 26 original total balloons to 12 that were yellow. But now we're seeing that there are going to be 390 total balloons. So let's put 390 on top and see if we can figure out how many are going to be yellow. Okay, so we need to figure out how does 26 become 390. Now I'm going to go ahead and just do some long division here. If you feel like you can have some space up here to do that, then do it. So how many times does 26 fit in? Well, it goes in once here. That's 26. That's going to be a remainder of 13. Bring down to 0. I believe this is 5 times 26 is 130. So a remainder here is going to be 0. So 26 into 390, it's 15 times more total balloons. So we should have 15 times more of these yellow balloons, right? Now, if you don't know 12 times 15, then go ahead and write it down. I'm not going to right now, but this would be 180. 180 of these yellow balloons. So if there were 390 total balloons, there should be 180 of these yellow balloons. Okay, just to recap again, this is 15 times more total balloons. We figured that out by doing this long division. So we have to multiply 12 times 15 to find out it's 180 of these yellow balloons. Alrighty, that wraps up number 1, so let's go ahead and check out number 2. For number 2, we have some different types of candy. Looks like we have 15 packs of Twix, 24 packs of Reese's Cups, and 9 packs of the Sour Patch Kids. Now, just like in the last example, I think a great idea to start with is just adding these all up. So 15 plus 24 is going to be 39, plus another 9 is going to be 48. So we know the total packs of candy here is going to be 48, and we can use that a little bit later. So for part A, we're asked about the ratio of these Twix to Sour Patch Kids. So let's go ahead and say we know there's 45 packs of Twix. Let's go ahead and put that over here. And we're asked about how many would be Sour Patch Kids. So we're looking for this blank in this box here. So how does 15 become 45? Well, it's 3 times more, so we should need 3 times more here as well. So that would be 27 packs of these Sour Patch Kids. Now, setting up a ratio that we could do something like Twix to Sour Patch Kids. I'm gonna just use maybe an S for Sour Patch Kids right now. And if we knew the original ratio here was 15 to 9, we could write 15 on top and then 9 on bottom. That would be our original ratio. And then we're told that there's 45 that are Sour Patch Kids, so we put that on top. And again, we can hopefully figure out that this is 3 times more of these Twix. So we need 3 times more of the Sour Patch Kids. So that'd be a total of 27. So there'd be 27 packs of the Sour Patch Kids. In part B, we're asked what if there are 72 packs of the Sour Patch Kids. So I'm gonna go ahead and write 72 where our Sour Patch Kids go. The question is how many packs of Reese's Cups would there be? So that's this blank over here. Now we could say, okay, how does 9 become 72 here? It's gonna be 8 times more. So for this Reese's Cups, we would do times 8 as well. So it'd be 24 times 8. Now I can go ahead and write that on the side here so we can see it, 24 times 8. Again, if you can do this in your head, that's fine, but if you want to write it down, that's also good. Okay, so I think this is going to be 192. So if there were 72 packs of Sour Patch Kids, we would have 192 packs of Reese's Cups. Okay, setting up a ratio though, if we don't have a table, right? So this would be helpful. A Sour Patch Kids to Reese's Cups. I'll do like a R, S, and R for our ratio. So our original ratio we know is 9 to 24. So we'd put 9 on top and then 24 on bottom. And then we were told that there were 72 packs of Sour Patch Kids, so 72 goes on top. And you can see here that this is going to be 8 times more Sour Patch Kids, so we needed 8 times more Reese's Cups. And we just showed a little bit earlier that 24 times 8 would be that 192. So that's how many Reese's Cups there would be. All right, for part C, we're being told that there's 1,104 total packs of candy. So I'm gonna put that over here as 1,104 of these total packs. The question is how many Twix would there be? So that's gonna be this blank over here. We can figure out maybe how does 48 become this 1,104. To figure out how many times it fits in, we should maybe do a little bit of long division. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This 1,104 divided by 48. I think that's going to go in nicely. Let's go ahead and do it on the side here. So 1,104 divided by 48 goes in twice here. That's 96. And I think that's going to be a remainder of 14. And bring down this 48 times 3 I know is 144. And then if you subtract, we get a remainder of 0. Okay, so we just found out there is from 48 to this 1,104, it's 23 times more total packs of candy. So if we're looking for Twix here, let's take 15 and multiply it by 23 to figure out that total amount of Twix. Okay, so that's going to be 15 multiplied by that 23. Okay, so that's going to be 15, carry the 1, that's 3, that's 4. That's going to be 10, carry the 1, that's 2, that's 3. So 15 times 23, I believe that's going to be 345. So I believe that's going to be 345 packs of Twix if there were 1,104 total pieces of candy. So if we were setting up a ratio here, I could put TO for total on top and then maybe TW for the Twix on bottom. A little confusing because they both begin with T here. But our original ratio of total to Twix was 48 to 15. So 48 on top and then 15 on bottom. And then we were told that there would be 1,104 total packs here. So that's going to go on top as 1,104. And we were looking for that bottom number. again, you can see that long division up top that we found out it's 23 times more candy. So we needed 23 times more candy here, and then 15 times 23, you can see that multiplication up top. We found out that's going to be 345. So if there were 1,104 total packs of candy, then 345 of them would be Twix candy bars. And finally, for this number 2, we have part D, where we have 408 packs of Reese's Cups. So I'm going to go ahead and put that 408 where the Reese's Cups are. And the question is how many total packs of candy there would be. So how do we get from 24 all the way to 408? So 408, we can take that and then divide that by 24. Now, I'm not going to do the long division right now, but again, feel free to do it on the paper if you need to do so, if you can't do it in your head. Now, this is going to be 17 times more. So then that means we must also multiply this by 17. So again, do that long division if you need to, and then you also should do this multiplication on your paper if you need to write that out as well. And so 48 times 17 is going to be 816. So I'm going to go ahead and put 816 because that's how many total pieces of or total packs of candy there would be if there were 48 of these total packs. Okay, hopefully that makes sense because the ratio here of 24 to 48, you can see that's a 1-to-2 ratio, or the Reese's Cups are half of all the candy. So if you look here, 408 is exactly half of 816, or 816 is exactly double that 408. So if we wanted to go ahead and write this a little bit more clearly, if we didn't have a table, we would have Reese's Cups to total here. And we can see the ratio here is 24 to 48, or 1-to-2. You can write either one down. So I'm going to put 24 and 48. And then when they told us that there's going to be 408 packs of Reese's Cups, that 408 goes on top. Then we had to figure out how many times 24 went to 408. Again, you should have done some division there, and that's going to be times 17. And then if you did 48 times 17 and wrote out that multiplication, you would get out that there's 816. Okay, so that's what that would be. So in the bottom here would also be times 17. And if we did that 48 times 17, you should have written out and got something like 816. So that would be the total packs. So if there were 408 packs of Reese's Cups, then there would be 816 total packs of candy. Here's number 3. For number 3, we have 16 blue fish, so I'm going to go ahead and write that in our table. Then we have 12 of these orange fish, let's go ahead and write 12 over there. And then 15 of these yellow fish, so we can go ahead and write that there as well. Now, just like in the last few problems, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and just add up all of these fish together so we can see the total. And you can see here that 16 plus 12, that would be 28. 28 plus 15 would be 43, so there'd be 43 total fish in this pond if you add them all together. All right, so for part A, it says if there's 732 of these orange fish, I'm gonna put 732 right over here where the orange is. The question is how many total fish would there be? So for total, that's gonna be this box over here. So we're gonna figure out basically how does 12 become 732, and then 43 multiplying by that same number would get you that number of total fish. So maybe I'll write out this ratio first here. So we have orange to total. Okay, and then so for orange, we know the original ratio here is 12 to 43. So we can put 12 on top and then 43 on bottom. And we know that there's going to be 732 of the orange fish, so 732. We have to figure out how does 12 become that 732. Now for this one, I will go ahead and write out the division so you can practice seeing that. And so we have 12 into 732. 12 doesn't go into 7, but it goes into 73 6 times. 6 times 12 is 72. If we subtract, that's going to be 1. Bring down this 2. 12 into 12 is going to be 1, so 1 times 12 is 12, remainder of 0. So looks like there's going to be 61 times more of these orange fish, so we need 61 times more of the total fish here to keep the same ratio. So we're going to have to multiply 61 by this 43. Okay, I'll write this one out too. So 43 times 61, and let's see, that's going to be 3, that's going to be 4, that's 18, carry the 1, 24, that's 25. If we add these together, it's going to be 3, 2, 6, 2. So 2623, I believe. So 2623, and that's going to be the number of total fish, 2,623. So again, over here, this is 61 times more orange fish, so we have 61 times more of the total fish. All right, so now that we have those total number of fish for part A, let's take a look in the part B scenario. So for part B, we're being told that there are 144 of these blue fish. So I'm going to put 144 in this column where the blue is. And we want to figure out how many yellow ones there are. So that's going to be over here. So let's go ahead and set up a ratio here of blue to yellow. So I'm going to put blue on top and then yellow on bottom. And what's the original ratio that we're told? Well, blue it looks like was 16, yellow was 15, so slightly more blue than yellow. So 16 to 15 would be the ratio. And we're told here that there'd be 144 of these blue fish, so 144 would go on top. Okay, so how many times would 16 go into 144? Well, you could just do that long division or try some multiplication out. I know it's going to be 9, so I'm not going to write out the multiplication here, so times 9. So on the bottom, you have to do 15 times 9 as well. Again, if you need to write this multiplication, do it, but I know this is going to be 135. Okay, so I'm going to put 135 here, and that hopefully makes sense because 16 was slightly bigger than 15, so 144 is slightly bigger than 135. Again, from here to here is times 9, and from here to here it's times 9 as well. And so what we just found out is that if we had 144 blue fish, we should have 135 yellow fish. Now for part C, it says, what if there's 135 yellow fish? How many total fish would there be? Now this one's actually really nice to kind of do right off of part B because we had 135 in part B, right? So here we have 135 again. Now if we can remember that 15 times this 9 got you 135, then we can actually use the same row here, or same column, and just say, let's do 43 times 9, right? So that would be really, really helpful just to kind of use that. Now, if you just do 43 times 9, I'm gonna write that out, 43 times 9. 9 times 3 is 27, carry the 2. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 2 is 38. So it's gonna be 387. So I'm gonna use the same column here and just say this would be 387 for the total fish here. Again, we already knew that 15 times 9 was 135, so 43 times that 9 would equal 387. Now, how would this ratio look if we had yellow to total? That would be Y to T. I'm going to use those abbreviations. Now, yellow to total here was 15 to 43, so that was the original ratio, 15 to 43. And then what if we had here this 135 yellow is what we said. We already knew from part B that this would be 9 times more, so that's why we did 43 times 9 to get the 387. So if there were 135 yellow fish, there'd be 387 total fish. In part D, what if there are 228 orange fish? So I'm going to go for 228, put that in our orange row. How many blue fish would there be? So that's this blank up here. So we have to figure out how 12 is going to become this 228. So 228 we can divide by 12. I'm not going to write that out, but I'll tell you right now it's going to be times 19. So if we do 16 times 19, again, I'm not going to write that out right now, but 16 times 19, so that would be 304. Now, what would this ratio look like? Well, we put orange on top and then maybe blue on bottom. What was the original ratio of orange to blue? We were told, well, orange is going to be 12, blue is 16, so 12 to 16, also known as 3 to 4 if you wanted to use the simplified version. And so we were told that there were 228 of these orange fish, so 228 would go on top. And what did we figure out? That was going to be times 19, okay? And then on bottom, we would do 16 times 19. Again, I didn't write out the division or multiplication, but if you can't do that in your head, you definitely should be writing that out. 16 times 19, that would be 304, we said, 304. So we would say that if there were 228 orange fish, there would be 304 blue fish. Here's one final example. For number 4, we're talking about some Jolly Ranchers, Smarties, and Dum Dum candies. We have 57 of these Jolly Ranchers, so I'm going to put that 57 in this first column. We have 38 Smarties, so that's going to be in this first column as well for the original ratio. And then we have 95 of these Dum Dum candies, so I'm going to put those in that column as well. So first of all, let's go ahead and add up all the candies. So we have 57 of the Jolly Ranchers, we have 38 of the Smarties, and then 95 of the total candy. So if we add these up, that's going to be 80, 95 plus 95. I think that's going to be 190. So 190 total here. Okay, so looks like the Dum Dums make up half of them, so that might be helpful later on. All right, so for part A here, we're doing a ratio of Smarties to Dum Dums. If they said there's going to be 2 Smarties, let's go ahead and put 2 over here. Let's make a ratio. Let's do Smarties to Dum Dums. I'll do S on top, and then I'll put the D on bottom here. And then our original ratio of Smarties to Dum Dums was 38 to 95. So 38 would go on top, and then 95 would go on bottom. Now they're telling us that there's 2 of these Dum Dums, so let's put 2 on top here. And let's see, 38 divided by what number gets you 2? I think it's 19. So if we take 95 and divide by 19, I believe that's going to be 5. Okay, so based on that, I'm going to say that there's going to be 5 of these dum-dums if there are 2 Smarties. Again, if you need to do the long division, then do it, but I knew that this would be divided by 19, and this would be divided by 19. Okay, so if there were 2 of these Smarties, there would be 5 dum-dums. Now for part B, we're being told that there are 3 Jolly Ranchers. So I'm going to go to my Jolly Rancher row and put a 3 in there in our new column. The question is how many total? So we're looking for this blank over here, right? So we're trying to figure out how does this 57 become 3 and then use that same number for 190 to get to that missing value. And it looks like we're getting smaller, so we're going to have to do some division here. So let's set up a ratio. I'll do Jolly Ranchers to total here. And then let's go ahead and fill in some pieces. So Jolly Ranchers to total, so it's 57 to 190. So that's the original ratio, 57 and then 190. We're told that there are 3 Jolly Ranchers now, so we're getting smaller. So how much smaller are we getting? Do the long division if you need to. I'll tell you right now it's divided by 19, and this is divided by 19 as well. And so 190 divided by 19 is going to be 10. And so based on that, we can put a 10 over here. So 57 divided by 19 is going to be that 3. So 190 divided by 19 gets you 10. So if there were 3 Jolly Ranchers, there would be 10 total pieces of candy. For part C, it says, what if there's 266 Smarties? Let's use a new column here. I'm going to put 266 for where our Smarties go. And the question is how many dum-dums would there be? So we're trying to see how does 38 become this 266? Or we can say how does this 2 become the 266, whichever one you prefer. Actually, I think these ratios here might be a little bit easier to use. This 38 to 95 is equivalent to 2 to 5. So we could use 2 to 5 as well here. All right, so I'm going to set up a ratio. I'm going to put Smarties on top. I'll put dum-dums on bottom, so S on top, and then I'll put the D on bottom, kind of similar to part A, right? Again, you could use 38 to 95, but I'm going to use 2 to 5 instead because those numbers are a little nicer to me. But feel free to do whatever works for you. And then let's set this up. We have 266 Smarties, so 266 is going to go on top. Looks like 2 is going to go into it because it's even. Now half of 266 means that should be just 133. And then on the bottom, we just have to do 5 times 133. Okay. Now if you need to do that multiplication, feel free to do so. I think that's going to be 665, if I'm not mistaken, 665. So again, I use this 2 to get to 266, and I know that's going to be times 133. If you double 133, that's 266. So 5 also times this 133, that gets you the 665. So if there were 266 Smarties, there would be 665 dum-dums. All right, last one here. Let's see for part D. If we have 760 total candies, I'm going to put 760 in this bottom row here where the total candies go. The question is how many Smarties would there be? So I'm going to put a ratio here of the total candies to Smarties. So I'll go from T to S here. And so let's see, the total candies we knew was 190 and Smarties was 38. So I'll put 190 on top and I'll put 38 on bottom here. Okay, that's our original ratio. We're being told that what if there's 760 total candy, so 760 is going to go on top. And we got to figure out how many times does 19 go into 76, or how many times 190 goes into 760. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of division here. If I'm just doing 19 into 76, that's not too bad. I believe it's times 4. Yeah, I think it's times 4. So this is going to be multiplied by 4. And so we have to do 38 times 4 as well. Okay, so 38 multiplied by 4, I believe is 152. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 152 for the number of Smarties here. So 152. So again, from 190 to 760, you might need to try doing some multiplication or division, whichever one you prefer to do. This is gonna be times 4 we just figured out. So from 38 to our answer here of 152, it's also times 4. Okay, so keep that equivalent ratio. All right, so if there were 760 total candies here, then 152 of them would be made up of Smarties. Alright, so there you have some different practice problems on solving some part-to-part, part-to-whole, whole-to-part ratios. The tables were definitely a little bit more optional, but hopefully they can help you organize some information, or if you prefer to write the ratios out and write them with the labels and equal signs, that's also a good strategy. So hopefully this helped you get a little bit better understanding of how to figure out some of these problems. Again, it's just a lot of multiplication and division, so hopefully that kind of helped clear that up and you feel a little bit more comfortable with this. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing with a classmate or friend that might also gain some knowledge and help from it. And as always, keep with the great work that you're already doing, and I'll see you in the next one.